What happened in the previous chapter was that Shin finally saw his father Ando, but unfortunately, Ando didn't acknowledge him as his son and instead told his companions that he had no child and to throw Shin overboard. Fortunately, Sakamoto managed to save him, and now Sakamoto has decided to help him take down his evil father. Expect to see an action-packed chapter now that these two are teaming up. Let's get started. We continue the story in chapter 198, titled Useful. Sakamoto agreed with Shin's comment that he didn't need to say that out loud. However, he told Shin again that he would return and kill his father, which made Shin shout once more that he didn't need to say that out loud, making Sakamoto comment that work is work. Shin then asked what his father had done to have a hitman pursuing him. Sakamoto replied that he didn't know and that he tried not to learn too much about his targets. Shin responded irritably, saying if that's the case and since he was no help, he'll just ask his father himself. He said he would find his father before Sakamoto could and give him a piece of his mind, which prompted Sakamoto to warn him not to get thrown overboard again. On the enemy side, the one wearing shades couldn't believe that the kid they threw overboard survived, so one of them said yes and that he had just received word that the boy was spotted on board. Another added that there was one more suspicious character, a silver-haired man with glasses. The second guy mentioned that it was probably a hitman from JAA, and that he must be confident in his skills to come to them alone. Soon after, Shin reached where the enemies were hanging out, and he heard the enemy wearing shades say that they would find them and kill them immediately, which startled and made him nervous. Because of that, Shin returned to Sakamoto and made up an excuse that Sakamoto looked like a fish out of water, so he decided to guide him instead, to which Sakamoto replied that it was fine. After that, while observing their surroundings, Shin commented that this place is seriously something else and questioned if they were really on a boat. There were more than 10 restaurants here. It had pools, gyms, bars, and even a theater and casino, making it feel like an entire city was inside. Sakamoto then commented that tracking down Ando in this place would be a huge pain. He then suddenly noticed Shin looking dizzy as they walked around, so he asked what was wrong with him. Shin responded curtly, telling him to be quiet, and explained that he hated crowded places. Too many thoughts were entering his mind, making him want to vomit. He then noticed a family in front of them, which made him think that if it weren't for his ability, he would be living happily in the lab right now. He also remembered his bad experiences regarding what the scientists in that lab thought about his ability, saying he was super freaky and creepy because he could read their minds. The discomfort was visible on his face while enduring the pain, which made Sakamoto ask again if he was okay, to which Shin shouted back to shut up and asked if he wasn't freaked out by him. He expressed his anger about his powers of telepathy, while Sakamoto just stared at him. In the next scene, while wandering around, they arrived at a high-end dining area, and there was a pianist playing as entertainment for the diners. Shin was amazed while watching this man, while Sakamoto carefully observed him. As Sakamoto watched how the man's hands moved across the piano keys, he deduced that he was a hitman, which shocked Shin. He pointed out that there were small scars and gun calluses on his hands, indicating they weren't the hands of a musician. He then looked around after that and commented in his mind that they were already surrounded, which made Shin nervous and made him think to himself if Sakamoto was serious. There were 3 men here who were turning towards them while moving slowly, which made Shin ask what was happening now. Sakamoto then told him to continue reading his mind, which surprised him. While the pianist continued playing, a man slowly approached behind Shin while holding a knife. Because Shin continued reading Sakamoto's mind, he saw a scene where his throat was being attacked. This caused him to be startled while thinking that Sakamoto was imagining his death again. He lost consciousness due to fear, which caused him to fall to the floor and consequently made the sneak attack from the man behind him miss. Sakamoto grabbed a table linen and skillfully pulled it without dropping anything placed on top. He twirled it like how our older brothers used to twirl their handkerchiefs back then, and whipped it hard against the face of the man who rushed at Shin. The pianist grinned at him and commented that he must be the hitman, and this man was introduced to us as the piano assassin, Spillmantaro. Spill decided to heighten the mood a little, and when he pressed a key on his piano, the lights in the entire area suddenly went out. Some civilians there shouted that there was a power outage and called for staff, while their enemies quickly put on night vision goggles. The two wearing night vision rushed at Sakamoto, but unexpectedly, he was still able to dodge them. One of them couldn't believe that he dodged just by hearing slight sounds. When Spill noticed his strong hearing ability, he started playing loudly, which eliminated Sakamoto's ability to hear the enemies around him. Because of this, he was easily getting hit by them, forcing him to take a defensive stance. Sakamoto became irritated by this, and in response, he picked up the unconscious Shin and woke him up. He carried him on his back and tied both his hands so he wouldn't fall while telling him to read the enemy's minds and to guide him where they were. Shin was confused about what was happening, but Sakamoto had already closed his eyes and placed his trust in him. Shin had no choice but to try to help and shouted that there was an enemy on his right, allowing Sakamoto to quickly counter and punch them in the chin. Another enemy rushed in, so Shin quickly shouted that there was one at their 11 o'clock, which Sakamoto promptly responded to with a punch to the side of their face. Shin also heard someone rushing from below them and quickly said so, to which Sakamoto responded by delivering a foot stomp to the man's head. Spill became concerned and wondered how Sakamoto was detecting them, and thought that if that was the case, he might as well turn the lights back on since it was pointless anyway. When he pressed a key, the lights immediately turned on, blinding the people there, and to his surprise, Sakamoto quickly moved behind him. Sakamoto gave Spill a solid right hook that sent him flying into the piano, and as a follow-up, he closed the piano lid on his body. Not only was Spill's body hurt when his piano was damaged, but his heart was as well. After that, Shin and Sakamoto quickly pressed the piano keys, causing the hammers to pound all over Spill's body, and they called this their four-handed rapid-fire attack. After they finished playing, the diners suddenly burst into cheers. They were amazed and commented that while it wasn't very musical, it was quite striking. They added that they were such an interesting duo. Sakamoto commented that Shin was useful after all, to which Shin became irritated and called him a condescending jerk. Alongside all these events, we were shown Ando, who had just been watching the scene unfold. And there you have it. It's really something when these two team up. Now that Ando has seen what Shin and Sakamoto can bring to the fight, what move will he make? Let's find out in the next chapter.